Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome back to the hashtag EFR Wednesday Wisdom series. For today's post, I actually thought, since it is graduation season on my sunny side of the world, that I would make a little post about something that I always get asked. So Wednesday Wisdom is, if you're new to this series, welcome. It is a series on my YouTube channel where I kind of share little gems and little golden nuggets that I come across along the way, or I answer a question that I have come across, and it really is just something that is meant to encourage and just inspire you along the way. Maybe it's something that resonates with you, and that's why I do it. So one of the questions that I always get asked is how I juggle all the things that I like to do. My first comment is, I'm glad you think that I'm juggling everything. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that, obviously. When we're doing a lot of things at the same time and our plates are full, so long as everything that is on your plate is something that you want there, even when it is, it can feel like a lot. If you're an ambitious gold digger like me, then you will know the pressure of trying to keep all the balls up in the air, not trying to drop any of them, and still keep to doing what you love, but also have time for the things that are important, like family and friends. So I actually am going to speak about how I managed to get a distinction in my honors when I skipped from an engineering undergrad that was civil engineering to an honors in a completely new engineering, which was industrial engineering. So I skipped into postgraduate without having done the undergraduate of this degree, and that was actually quite a challenge. I just thought I could do it and I went for it, and it was a challenge, but I managed to do it and I managed to pass with distinction because I was determined, because I was like, this is my second chance and I really want to do well. I don't know what's coming after this. Maybe I want to do a master's overseas, who knows. And I just felt like, for me and for my own future, I want to get a distinction for this degree. So at the time when I applied for my honors, I was also working for a global non-profit student organization called Enactus. Awesome programs. I was skipping from undergraduate to honors. I was advised to do it in 2 years instead of one. First year I was a regular member, I had just joined. In the second year I got to be vice president. The reason I'm telling you this is not to brag, it's to share what I thought, you know, these are the things that you follow to achieve any big goal when you have other things going on. And this specific story was something that I could use in my lived experience to give life to the examples that I'm giving to you, so that it makes more sense. So a lot of the questions that I got asked, even when I go back as an alumni or as a business advisory board member, people ask, you know, how did I juggle everything at the same time? Because I was also a wife, a sister, you know, a daughter. I was a friend to a couple of people as well. And then I was vice president and trying to do my honors at the same time and pass with distinction. And how do I juggle with those things? So I wanted to share a couple of tips and tricks for those of you who hope to pass your degrees with distinction, since it's super topical on Instagram and everyone's celebrating, which I love. I love this season because it's such a season of celebration and just rejoicing in other people's achievements and accomplishments and what it took for them to get there, because we all know that it's not a joke. My mom always says that if a degree was easy to get, they'd be just handing them out on the street. It's hard for a reason. You're gonna need to push through it and sacrifice and give up things to make it happen. So yeah, it's a beautiful time, and I thought it topical, because I always get asked this question, to just share my tips. So the first thing is, obviously you've set a goal, right? And that is something really important. To actually sit and think at the beginning of starting a journey, you know, with setting a goal and what is the end result. How do I want to end this thing? You know, so start with the end in mind. how do I want this thing to look like in the end? And for me, I was like, I want to be standing up on that stage and I want them to say, Kory Lee Shukrani, pass with distinction. And to be really honest with you, I wrote that in my diary. I put a post-it on my vision board at the beginning of the year, pass with distinction. I changed my university password to as entry into the system, changed my password to pass with distinction. I did it all. I would honestly visualize myself, and especially when times get hard, it's a really good tool to use to really just visualize and manifest. It sounds very zen, but to really just visualize and manifest the reality of making your dream happen and what you want to hear at the end of it, how you want to feel, you know, what is going to be said at the end of it. I also remember writing Golden Key at the end of that, and I made Golden Key as well. So with that, to that point of start with the end in mind, it's really important for the achievement of your goals to already visualize yourself steps ahead achieving that goal. And it's a fantastic reminder as well for along the way, as I said, when things get hard, to really remember why you started. Remember what kind of person you want to be, why you're doing this, how it's going to contribute to the person you want to be, and then keep going and put one foot in front of the other. So one thing that I always say with all the roles that I played at the same time was that I really wanted to prioritize what mattered. I did all the things that I wanted to do. Everything, my plate was full, but everything on it was something that was important, that was contributing to what I needed to be, which you must always leave space for friends and family. Do not give up the people around you who are actually going to be your support ecosystem. Do not give up on relationships just for your goal. In fact, relationships are part of your goal because you're never going to do it alone. And it's always important, even if, you know, they're not people who are going to help you study per se. But it's important to have contact with people and to keep nurturing good relationships all throughout whatever you're doing. As I said, I'm not going to stop being a wife, I'm not going to stop being a daughter, a sister, a friend to people, of course within reason, because there are some times where it's like, I need to prioritize what I'm doing, I'm gonna have to say no here and there. So that's a big part of it, I must say. It's a big part of my success. As I said, no one succeeds alone. Maybe it's your sister, maybe it's your mother or your dad that helped you with that, but there's always someone who helps you. So that speaks to my support system. There are people around you that are close to you, that are important to you, and that care about your development, that you will need around you, cheering you on, giving you advice, giving you encouragement when those times get hard. That actually speaks to a greater point about setting up a good environment and ecosystem for yourself. So it's not just about the people, but it's also your physical environment. So one thing I knew was that I wanted to separate my work and my leisure time. So I never studied in my bedroom. In fact, I preferred not to study in my house at all. And if I did, I had a specific corner where I would always study. And that speaks to a little principle I made up when I was preparing for this video, was that you want the right environment so that you can have the right trigger and the right flow. So for me, the right trigger was studying in a specific place, preferably at the same time, so that I have my routine, so that your whole body knows, your brain knows, your body knows that when I'm here, this is what I do. And your brain literally works that way and is programmed that way. Another trigger that I added, and this is going to be really, really nerdy, is that I would listen to music that would help me concentrate. You can get so many on the internet for free, or you can pay a small amount of money for them. And I just downloaded like 3 hours worth of music that would help me study, even scientifically, in terms of like getting my brain waves working on a certain frequency that was optimal for inserting information. So that's a really nerdy trick that I used, but it absolutely worked because that was my trigger. Every time I put on that music, I knew, and my brain knew, and my body knew that it is time to concentrate, and that's what's happening right now. And it would absolutely work. And also that would help with the flow. When you start right, you can continue right because you gain momentum, and that trigger is what triggers the momentum to keep going. With your support system, what is really important about your support system is that you need people to keep you accountable to your goal. So there are people who are close to you, like your family members, your close friends, who are close enough to you to realize when you are straying away from that goal, and who can quickly bring you back and help you. The thing that I wanted to mention with regards to like your relationships and having other things on your plate besides what you are busy working towards. So obviously I had enactors, I had my family members and my friends, and I was also blogging at the same time, for instance, and then I had this big goal that I was trying to achieve, that by the end of 2017 I am going to be graduating with distinction. So that was the main goal. That was something that was really important that I needed to make sure I keep coming back to. And all these other goals were things that were kind of a little bit more flexible, and it's a balance. And make sure that those balls are kept in the air. And also just making sure that when you are engaged in something, that you are applying yourself. Really, really importantly. So I would break my day up into chunks, and you know, when I came home, I took my enactus hat off, I took my academic hat off, and I was like, I am right now a wife, I'm focusing on my husband, I'm focusing on my marriage and my family life. And that was something that was really, really important, to not be thinking about all the other things in the back of your mind, because then you're not productive. If you keep doing this consistently, that becomes a habit, it becomes a routine, and it becomes the foundation or the backbone of your success in achieving your goal. So one of the things that really helped me as well in my in a practical sense was, guys, it seems so obvious, but consult. Like, one thing I have always done really well in my degree, besides dreaming, which is always dreaming big and always starting out with the big goal of where I want to be and what I want to do whenever I start something. But one thing I always do is I'm always good at pulling in other people and resources to help me achieve my dream. So I would consult and annoy my lecturers like crazy. You know, your lecturers are actually kind of, it's their job, number one, but number two is they love to see people who are actually engaging with the material. They're a lecturer in this topic probably because they're passionate about it, they've dedicated their life's work and professional life to this topic. So if you show an interest, if you show that you're working, you're looking outside of the material, looking for extra resources, you come in and maybe you've shared an extra article that they maybe have or haven't read, and now it becomes a discussion point. You want to be able to not only learn the work and go a little bit beyond what your lecturer is doing, but also socialize it. Socialize your work with your lecturer. When you consult, when you have a problem, contextualize it, and then socialize it with classmates. This was so key and pivotal to my success, was finding classmates who had the same goal as me, who were at the same level of determination in terms of what they wanted to achieve in this course, and just their character, you know, the kind of people that they were here for the substance, and they had the same view of how to go about it as me, and the same eagerness to learn and to grow. So once I found those people, it changed everything. And we studied together, we worked hard together, we kept each other accountable for the goals we wanted to reach. You know, and it was just that positive encouragement of someone right next to you who's got the same goal, who's running with you in this race, and who wants to see you win. So I want to end this off by actually linking it to something that I started with, which was the dreaming. Start with the end goal in mind, and I spoke about how I visualized myself on that stage with my name being announced with distinction at the end, and that happened, guys, and it was such an incredibly proud moment, and every single piece of blood, sweat and tear that came for this, all the late nights, suddenly seemed perfectly worth it. And it was, because it's a goal I set, I walked the journey, everything that I did was towards that. I trained like an athlete for my exams, and it was amazing. And even more so, the cherry on top was having my mentor, who was the first female industrial engineer to graduate in the whole of South Africa. She was my mentor, and she was actually on stage that day. And I just remember feeling like everything culminated in the perfect thing. But that visualization actually started before that. What I did was I would go to other people's graduations and just feel the vibe of like what it's like to graduate, and listen to those people who achieve what you are wanting to achieve, like passing with distinction. Or I mean, I always get inspired by PhD students because I mean, I'm like, I cannot imagine walking such a long journey and feeling that satisfaction of finally being done and having something new in the world that you call yours, that you've put out there. So that was a huge part of my inspiration, is going to other people's graduations and rejoicing for them. I feel like it's an act of faith. You know, it's an act of faith to be happy for people. So you know what, to be honest, there is nothing new that I am talking about that you don't already know or you haven't already heard before. I think the big dream is easy. It's easy to say, I want to pass with distinction. But I think the more difficult part is, you know, walking step by step and being consistent in that step and figuring out what those little bricks are that are going to build your whole wall. So it's a really interesting journey and ride, and I would say prioritize. It is so important to make sure that you take away every distraction, everything that is not contributing to your final goal or to your well-being to achieve that final goal. I did a whole video on starve your distractions and feed your focus, so you can see about that. But it all comes down to that sacrifice and that determination and that consistency that leads to success. I hope some of these tips actually helped you, especially if you're a university student just starting out in your undergrad. I think changing your mindset is something that is so huge, and sometimes it will separate you from people, it will separate you from what lots of people are doing. You're going to be giving up parties, you're going to be giving up fun times, but that moment when you achieve the goal you set out is parallel to nothing else, and that satisfaction is just so beautiful. So hang on to it, hang in there, and if you're not a student, I know that these goals can help you with anything that you want to achieve, because it's about the principles. So I hope that this helped someone and resonated with them, and I hope that this inspired and encouraged somebody to reach for their goal or to change a habit of theirs, maybe something you should stop or something you should start, to build better habits, build better routines and better lives, because happiness is a choice and built into your routine. So thank you guys, and I hope you take care. Bye.